You're sitting there scrolling through a dozen industrial sewing machines, trying to decide which one will actually let you finish that heavy-duty project without turning it into a daily nightmare. You don't want a machine that's just full of glossy specs you'll never use. You want something that feels solid under your hands, feeds fabric evenly, and won't break the bank the moment the warranty expires. And, of course, you want to avoid the dreaded, "I wish I'd read more reviews first" regret. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The Consew 205RB industrial walking foot promises exactly the kind of steady feed most heavy fabric sewists need, but it also comes with a few quirks that make it a better fit for certain workshops than for a hobbyist's garage. Let's walk through what the machine actually does in a real-world setting, who will get the most mileage out of it, and why some buyers are walking away with a lower rating than the brand's reputation would suggest. First off, the walking foot itself is the star of the show. When you're stitching denim, canvas, leather, or multiple layers of upholstery fabric, the foot literally walks with the material, pulling both the top and bottom layers together so they don't shift. That's a huge time saver compared to trying to manually align each layer with a regular feed dog. In my own experience with a similar walking foot setup on a smaller machine, the difference between a jittery seam and a smooth, even stitch is night and day, especially when you're quilting a 10 by 12 foot blanket made of 3 layers of cotton and batting. The 205RB replicates that benefit on an industrial scale, so if you spend most of your week stitching thick, slippery fabrics, the foot alone is worth the investment. Now, the no-needle feed part is where the conversation shifts. Unlike some higher-end industrial machines that come with a built-in needle feed system, this model relies on you to provide the needle feed if you need it. For most users who already have a dedicated needle feed unit in their shop, that's not a problem. You just attach it and you're good to go. But if you're a small shop owner or a serious hobbyist who only has one machine, you'll have to budget extra money for that accessory, or accept that the machine will only work with its built-in feed dog. In practice, that means you'll have to be comfortable switching between a walking foot and a regular feed dog when the material doesn't require the extra grip, which can be a bit of a learning curve if you've never done it before. What does the low 2.4-star average tell us? With around 90 ratings, the score suggests a notable portion of owners ran into issues that outweighed the walking foot's advantages. While we don't have specific complaints listed, the pattern for industrial machines in that rating range usually points to a few common pain points. Inconsistent stitch length when the feed dog isn't perfectly adjusted, occasional motor stalling under sustained heavy loads, and the need for more frequent lubrication than the manual promises. If you've ever owned an industrial machine that required a weekly oiling schedule, you'll know that neglecting it can quickly turn a reliable tool into a source of frustration. The 205RB is no exception. Its design is robust, but it expects regular maintenance. Skipping that step is a cheap way to end up with a machine that skips stitches or makes that dreaded clunk when the motor strains. Let's talk about who will actually benefit. If you run a small upholstery shop, a leather goods boutique, or a custom tire patching business, you're probably already familiar with the need for a walking foot. You'll also likely have the ancillary equipment like a needle feed, a proper dust extraction system, and a schedule for oiling that keeps an industrial machine humming. For those setups, the Consew's reputation for delivering strong, consistent stitches on thick material shines through, and the price point sits comfortably between entry-level industrial machines and the premium heavy-duty models that can cost several $1,000s more. In that sweet spot, you get a machine that can handle a continuous run of 500 stitches per minute without sacrificing seam quality, which translates directly into higher throughput and less downtime. On the flip side, if you're a Home Sewers Club member who occasionally works on a heavyweight project, the 205RB might feel like overkill. Not only will you need to carve out space for a full-size industrial unit, you'll also need to buy the extra needle feed if you ever want to tackle tricky fabrics like leather. The maintenance schedule alone can feel daunting for someone who only sews once a weekend. In those cases, a mid-range domestic machine with a built-in walking foot, think a Janome or a Singer industrial-style model, might give you the same functional benefits without the extra upkeep. Now, let's break down a couple of practical strengths that aren't just marketing fluff. First, the machine's torque is calibrated for heavy loads. When you're stitching a 1-inch thick canvas strap for a